Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Citizen Sleeper. In the last episode we sent the data to Sol and Helene, and we met a new member, Kemp of the Hardliners of Heavenedge, which is kind of interesting, but we're going to kick off this episode here by speaking to Peak. As you enter the climbing briar, you immediately have to jump aside as Ash, lugging a massive crate across the cargo bay, pushes past you, grunting an apology as she does. Grunt back. Reminds me of when we first met. Ash sniffs, doesn't look back. As you turn back to the bay, Peak pushes past too. Sorry, Sleeper. Just a second. Peak rushes to catch up with Ash. Put that down, please, Ash. She doesn't respond to their urging. We can't leave, not yet. Peak puts a hand on her shoulder. Please, I'm the only one here who can... The crate drops, the sound of its impact echoing around the bay like thunder. Can do what, Peak? Her eyes are burning with anger. Save this place? Are you still that naive? We're running, Peak. We are running because this thing cannot be stopped. It couldn't be stopped at XPR, our home. Why would we stay to stop it here? Because we can, Ash. We can give these people a chance. Peak pleads with her. Like they gave the refugees a chance? Ash shakes her head. No, Peak, this is not on us. We barely made it out of XPR. I worked for years to escape, and now you want to throw it all away? I left everything behind. My mother, my friends, to take you out of that place. He clenches her jaw. He turns and slams her hand onto the crate, breathing hard. We go. That's the end of it. Peak turns away, feel unsure what to do, but you know now is not the time for outside arguments. This is between them. Peak crosses the bay back towards you. I'm sorry you had to see that, Sleeper. They sigh. Let's talk upstairs. Peak leads you to the entry ladder, taking you up out of the bay and into the habitation level of the ship. You follow them through the tight corridors, noticing the handwritten notes that clutter, the repairs, the signs of home. Here, sit. Peak gestures to the broad mess table with its curved couches, and you slide in on one side. Peak sits opposite. They brush their hair out of their eyes, and take a deep breath. So, how did it go? What did they say? I've been waiting all cycle. Let's tell them about Helene. Peak listens nervously as you explain how Helene said she will support your efforts to find a countermeasure for the Shadow Protocol. Okay. Peak looks pleased. That sounds good. Much better than I was hoping. But what about the Council? Are they behind that, or will she operate alone? Let's tell them about Kemp. Peak looks increasingly troubled as you tell them about the hardline counsellor, Kemp's sudden appearance. Damn, and Helene's going to have problems of her own to deal with. Peak shakes their head. Looks like we won't be able to count on anything from Heavenedge. They pause. What stopped Kemp from arresting her? The guns. Peak rolls their eyes. Of course. Those are the guns Ash managed to smuggle to the refugees, the ones she didn't tell us about. Peak sighs. Another thing that's on us. What's on us? Ash is standing quietly in the doorway listening. You don't know how long she's been there for. Peak looks up at her with tired eyes. Sleeper found the weapons you smuggled from XPR. Ash freezes. She glances between you and Peak, as if this might be some elaborate joke. The flotilla used them. Ash moves out of the doorway and enters the room. What happened? Peak interrupts. Be thankful that they didn't. They used them as a threat. That is all. Good. Ash folds her arms. You get the feeling that she knows Peak will not approve. Peak goes to speak, then decides not to take the bait. They glance at you. I'm sure you've heard enough of us arguing this cycle, Sleeper. Peak shoots a look at Ash. But our introduction of those weapons into the equation are just another reason why we cannot simply run away. Ash looks away but says nothing. She surely knows they cannot absolve themselves of the responsibility here. So what is motivating her? You realise that she still might be trying to protect Peak, even from themselves. Suddenly, a shrill beeping fills the room, and Peak pulls out their slate to silence it. But as they do, they freeze, their finger hovering above the screen, the beeping continuing its insistent pulse. What? Peak doesn't seem to hear you. They blink with glazed eyes at the slate. Then they let out a long exhale and tap the screen. The beeping shuts off, leaving a ringing silence behind. Ash frowns at Peak. Planning to explain? 12 cycles. Peak looks vacantly up at you both. 12 cycles until the next flux event. They shake their head. I've been using the arrays on the Briar to look towards the center of the system, to approximately where the KAN channel should be. Just this moment, they detected a signal from the inner system. Given the distance, pattern of previous flux events, we have 12 cycles before it reaches the eye. The silence in the room is deafening. 12 cycles. That's it, before a second wave hits and this place... Peak interrupts your thoughts. We start now. That's the end of it. Peak stands up to face Ash. You want to take the Briar and run, Ash? That's on you. But I won't do it. They take a deep breath. I'll be here, Sleeper, for every cycle it takes trying to find a solution. I'll need your help. Their eyes meet yours, and you see a wild desperation flickering there. We will find something. The sooner we have the plan, the better. If it takes us 12 cycles to fix this thing, it'll be too late. Peak's eyes flash with determination. They reach for a slate and pass it to you. So we can keep in touch. You pocket the thin handheld terminal. And Ash, Peak starts, but she is gone, storming down the corridors of the ship on a path to who knows where. You know from experience that it is impossible to outrun your fears. But you get a sense that Ash will try anyway. Peak rubs their red eyes, staring after Ash. Maybe I'll take a moment before we start. They smile weakly, tears of exhaustion gathering in their eyes. See you back here soon, okay? And you slip from the room into the corridor. Peak's quiet sobs somehow carrying through the ship behind you as you leave. Okay, and there it is. A clock. Oh my. The next flux event is coming, and it can't be stopped. The sooner your preparations are complete, the better the outcome. So here it is, a desperate plan. Peak is desperately looking for a way to combat both the coming flux event and the Shadow Protocol infecting the station. Now, in theory, this shouldn't be too hard for us. It all depends how many steps it's going to take. If we look on the Pilgrim Seed, is there a thing to do the refitting? There is. See, this is much harder, which makes me think this is one step, whereas this is helping the Briar is going to be multiple steps. Well, let's see how far we can get with our 5. You show the latest data to Peak, and their eyes light up. They have seen something, but what is it? We can use our 6. We might be able to do this right now. If we get really lucky. If I re-roll these, maybe there'll be something higher than a 3. Nice. Peak beckons you over the wide mess table, where they have set up a terminal. The hours of bleary-eyed work have left you both drained, and Peak looks ready to collapse. You slide onto the curved couch beside them, something dark and malevolent filling their screen like an oil stain. The Shadow Protocol. Not quite. Peek's eyes seem to glitter in the screen light. This isn't what you think, Sleeper. Not by a long shot. You look again at the screen, leaning in close to the dark, curved shape to see its texture. You see whirls and currents like a river. A dark flow unlike the Shadow's Protocol's dark tangle. You know exactly what this is. You have swum in this river, almost drowned in its shifting flow. It is the Gardener's Chorus, the dark cloud which blankets the Greenway's networks, the bio-organic morass of a malfunctioning protocol grown vast and strange. The Gardener. Peek glances at you. How do you... They pause. Have you met them? I have. Peek shakes their head. Incredible. Then perhaps you won't be surprised by what I'm about to propose. Peek meets your eye. Everything I have tried to do to contain the Shadow Protocol has been a failure. It slips through any containment, absorbs any countermeasure. That, unfortunately, is an unavoidable fact. And yet, the eye still spins. The Shadow Protocol is being slowed, partially contained. It has spread across the station, as we have seen, but in reduced pockets, in fragments. So I started to look outside of our test cases, outside of these fragments we have been poking and prodding in our little lab. Peek smiles. And look what I found. Peek taps a key on their terminal, and you realize the screen is showing a recording of the data flow inside the eye's networks, sampled from hundreds of points around the Greenway. You watch as a subtle shift occurs at the edge of the flowing dark curve that blankets the Greenway, something spreading like an ink stain. Somehow darker than black, it bleeds across. The Shadow Protocol. Now watch. Peek eagerly points at the screen. You see something strange, a fizzing at the edge of the shadow, a sparking, and then it is gone. And beneath, for a moment, a millisecond, you see into the networks of the Greenway. You are reminded of an image you had forgotten, of pulling a plant from its pot and seeing a bone-white root ball where you expected to see dark soil. The white connections writhe like worms, and then it is gone. The dark flow closing up as quickly as it opened. What did I just see? Hope, Peek sighs, wrapped up in something terrible. You think back to your meeting with the Gardener. That sense of something old and world and inhuman to its core. Peek excitedly starts to explain. This is the only chance we have, the only countermeasure we have seen. In the moment it opened, I detected something, a centralized intelligence with the local ID, Gardener. This protocol, this system, whatever it is, can protect its network from the Shadow Protocol. But if it stays in the Greenway, the eye will still fall. The station's systems are too exposed, too spread across the hub, the shipyards, the spokes. Peek glances away. The only way is to break it open, to spread the entity's networks, access it. The only way is to break it open, to spread the entity's network, access it, expand it somehow. Peek pauses. I've been inside there, Peek. Peek pauses, trying to read your expression. And this Gardener? Can they help us? You try to remember what that strange being said to you, but all you remember is the feeling of dissolving into that network. The heady mix of growth and decay, the ceaselessness of it. Would they protect the station? Or would they simply dissolve it? They might. Peek stands up and walks away a little. They lean against the countertop, their head hanging so low that their long hair touches the work surface. You hear them breathing deeply. I don't know, Sleeper. They lift their head. I really don't know. It's a chance. Maybe. They shake their head. You know as well as Peak that this is it. You know it because over the past cycles you have run every simulation, every possibility you could think of and still come up with nothing. You have stared a hole into your screen and dreamt of that black shadow creeping in at the edges of your vision. Peak recognizes the look in your eyes, the potent cocktail of resignation and anger. Let's say we do this, Peak begins, eyeing you carefully. What do you need? They begin to answer their own question, thinking out loud. I suppose we'd need to do two things. Find a way to limit or control the gardener's spread, and then reconnect the greenway. Peak starts pacing, the ideas coming quickly now. Controlling the spread means preparing the station. Limit the gardener's network to key systems. We don't want it taking everything, we just need it to protect the station's core functionality. Then, we need to reconnect to the greenway, hook it back up to the main line of the network. Those systems we prepared, they should connect. The gardener will spread along the paths we have prepared. At least, that is my theory, Peak grimaces. But if we don't prepare correctly, the gardener might not spread, or it might spread to everything. Peak closes their eyes. And after that, things might get worse. I mean, it can't be worse than a total collapse. Don't say it, Sleeper. Peak sits back at the terminal and brings up a map of the eye. Rotational control at the hub, life support at the free spoke, power routing at Heaven Edge shipyards. They stab at the map, with each one marking them in red. Then there's the central core. As I understand, it is somewhere on the rim. I need to find it. They push their hair out of their face. We seed the gardener in all these places, Peak pauses. But how are we going to do that? We could transplant the greenway. Of course. The gardener needs plants to care for. That is what their protocol dictates. They must have been part of the Eye's farming management system. They must have been part of the farming management systems of the Eye, but back when Solheim built it. We seed greenway plants into those systems, and the gardener will seek them out, protect them. Peak stares at the map of the Eye. It's a wild idea, but it could work. But, they pause, we'll need a way into those systems. Heaven Edge have most of them locked down for safety purposes. We can't just walk in. I know a guy. Peak raises an eyebrow. Someone in the Heaven Edge systems team? You nod. After everything he dragged you through, you feel like Feng still owes you. Time to pay him a visit. Okay, well, Peak looks at you sideways. I guess we should pay him a visit. Lead the way. You both leave the ship, carried forward by the excitement of the plan, and an eagerness to not look at the details too closely. You push any lingering questions to the back of your mind. Time to head to Feng's Bay. Oh, that's so cool. We get to see Feng again? I'm actually surprisingly happy. We haven't seen Feng in a very long time. I do believe, though, I'll be doing this in the next episode, because we have run out of time today. Where is Feng's Bay? Hang on a minute. There it is. What do we need to do here? Difficult man. Yeah, we need to find him. Okay. So, I'm going to end the episode here. Thank you all very much for watching. Please like, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Your comments are greatly appreciated. Thank you again to the members of the channel and the people who help support me. It really does mean the world to me. And as always, I'll see you next time.